To start your day.
Thank you for being here. We're looking into some of these things, the politics of appointments and where the line should actually be drawn. We'll get into that a little bit. But as you know, we started off with our proverb today. And this week, our proverbs come from one of the oldest civilizations that is now modern-day Egypt. Again, a mix of cosmopolitan and still very traditional, but then brings about one of the most interesting communities, societies that we know about today. And just still many things happening. And some of the things that we use today that we didn't know actually originated from this space that is called Egypt. This is what the proverb is today. We'd love to hear from you, gentlemen. Stretch your legs as far as your blanket extends. Stretch your legs as far as your blanket extends. We'll start with you, Dr. Likaka.
Thank you. I think you need to exercise your willpower or use of knowledge or skill to the extent that it can actually be able to serve you. Yeah.
Dr. Lo.
Well, they say that you cut your cloth according to your size. So if you want the warmth of a blanket, just make sure that you curl yourself well enough within it. So being realistic about life.
Indeed.
Yeah.
This is the nice thing about having analysts in the room. Things just sometimes get clearer, isn't it? Okay, so maybe you can clarify for us, or at least speak with some clarity about some of the things that we see. Political appointments happen. Political appointments it shouldn't come as a surprise, especially when somebody who has been in the running for something and those who have supported them then are awarded, whether it's a position or, anything really. Those are tools that are often used to extend the politics of a situation. But where does it become, or where does it then step out of the lines of reason, if it does? And of course, we will not run away from naming what we are talking about today. That on the board of a hospital in Nairobi, a gentleman has been appointed to serve on the board. I need to find out what his name is, his name on his ID, his government name, but we know that he's called Gaucho. Calvin's, that is his name. His name is Gaucho, and he has been appointed by the governor of Nairobi to serve on the board. We'll start again with you, Dr. Likaka. When do such things step outside of the realm of reason, or are we making a hullabaloo over nothing?
Thank you so much. I think before we come to the appointments, we need to see how do we get our leaders. Once we get our leaders, the leaders have a leverage in terms of rewarding loyalty and also bringing in competence for purpose of service delivery. The situation we are facing today, for me, I would want to ask a simple question. Why is even Calvin's occult a concern today? It shouldn't be a concern at all. Because if we look at the kind of leaders we have, then he's just a representation of who we are as a society. And these leaders actually reward us based on what we have actually given them. Therefore, nobody should come out and say he is not qualified or he has only an ID and therefore he's actually on that board. Because there are many parameters that a leader will have in terms of who do you appoint, looking at the competence or looking at the loyalty. In this case, we have a scenario where he has been a leader of Bunga la Mwananchi or whatever he has been leading on the ground, and he has been a loyal supporter of ODM. If that befits him to be appointed there, personally, I have no problem because there are bigger issues that we can look at. He's just but one. We need to look at that act. What does it provide for? He is not the only one we can actually find in terms of qualification. He may not have the medical background or anything around there. But then how a body is constituted, for example, it will bring in different faces and different qualifications, and that, to me, it shouldn't be something raising concern. Our concern should be the kind of leaders we actually elect or put in office that end up now giving us such kind of people. Because today, as we speak, how many fake documents do we have within government? How many government employees have got fake papers?
They said, I think the last count was 52,000.
That's a concern.
Yeah.
How many of these leaders do have fake papers? How many have PhDs and they cannot tell us who their classmates were? You know, this should be a big picture that we should actually be asking ourselves before we concern ourselves with such a small man. Because he does not need a medical background or any specialty to sit there. He could even be representing those from wherever level that he understands, and he can actually play a certain role in that point. Because there's an element I'm seeing Kenyans quite feeling entitled, that therefore, if you have gone or you've seen the four walls of a classroom, you should be the one to be appointed. No. Let's look at the provisions within the Constitution, and let's look at how we can actually balance the same for purpose of delivering the country or transforming the country. Our concern should be, if we appointed the right leaders or elected the right leaders, then Gaucho will not have been appointed.
So, Prof.
Yes.
Dr. Likaka, maybe is resonating with the sentiment that I was sharing with Ochanda earlier, and I was like, why are we actually surprised? Why is everybody in a spot of bother over this thing? That should we be surprised? It shouldn't actually surprise us that this is happening based on previous activities. It shouldn't come as a surprise. So if you have elected the right person across board, then you wouldn't have to be worried about subsequent action that they would then take. So does it go back to the very genesis of the political decision by Kenyans in the first place?
And thanks for having this conversation. Let me situate it from a constitutional perspective. Any Kenyan, including Gaucho and Oscar Sudi, have a right, and have rights that you cannot take away from them if they are seeking to represent or seeking to serve. And if Oscar Sudi is a member of parliament and we don't even know where he went to school, what is wrong? And Gaucho was also cleared to run for member of parliament. So when you look at it in that scheme, we are talking about, it's a non-issue here. Because as a Kenyan, as a leader of Bunge la Mwananchi, he seems to have a constituency that any politician will want to draw on. So when Governor Sakaja decides to put him in Mama Lucy, it is not just a strategic choice for Governor Sakaja, but it's also a political choice. For example, who are the clients that actually go to Mama Lucy, and what kind of fellows are they? Mama Lucy is one of the biggest hospitals in this country today. It receives about 1,000 outpatients per day. And those people are what you would say they are the base of the society. So really, if Gaucho is sitting there on that board, isn't that the right person to be there and to think for them and perhaps resonate with them, perhaps understand what their needs are? So really, he's not misplaced.
So what rubs people the wrong way then?
Sorry?
What rubs people the wrong way? Because
I
it
no
wasn't.
problem.
Our appointments happen every day in this country, every day. But this one, people said, "Hang on a minute, there's something wrong here." It seems like the board of a hospital should be some hallowed place reserved for people whose shadows have darkened the walls of some medical institution.
Actually, a board of hospital does not need medics. Medics should be in the wards, should be in the triads. Medics should be on the forefront treating people. A board simply needs a combination of interests. Anybody sitting on a board is a shareholder, an ordinary shareholder of breweries can sit on the board of breweries.
Did you say brewery? Okay.
Yeah, any shareholder, any ordinary person can be elected. So you don't tell me that you need to a brewer or need to be a specialist. All you need is to have a representation. Now, Gaucho comes with an interest. He represents a constituency. He has the youth with him. He has mobilization skills. And he has also what in political currency is goonism. Now, with that kind of person, really, you have what it takes for, Sakaja has decided to make a fairly good political strategic appointment. And with Gaucho, he scores. So rather than people crying, they should be actually saying, hey, wait a minute. This guy must be thinking. I remember his ODM. Sakaja is not ODM. Most MCS in Nairobi are ODM, and the people who are giving Sakaja the hardest time in the county assembly are ODM members. So is he telling you that with Gaucho there, he might just be able to mobilize a few things? So yeah, in terms of our political appointment, it's a very good appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doctor, let me give a ride on Ndu's question.
Yeah.
And what your good name?
Luchetu.
Luchetu from my backyard. Yeah. Doctor, and you're looking at these are discourse. These are an ecosystem. You saying that Gaucho comes with is it a cocktail or a concoction? They are different.
Cocktail
could
sounds
be
better.
Sweet. Concoction could be
Medicinal.
medicinal. Yeah. But let me pose this way. Remember last year when Governor Sakaja appeared on before the Public Accounts Committee, he was put to task with mishap of expertise. You get somebody did theology, is in a very sensitive docket. Somebody did is a library, did information science. That's actually basically library records keeping. Is in the firefighting, disaster management. Don't you think this is an extension of the mishap of expertise? Remember that this is an ecosystem. When you are saying that he comes with an aspect of, when you say goonism, you're actually almost whispering. I don't know what you fear. But don't you think maybe Gaucho is not useless? He's very useful, especially in the political circles. We have more departments like garbage collection. We have a Nairobi River that is not as sensitive as Mama Lucy or such a medical facility. Don't you think, yes, he should have accommodated him? Because remember that before the late Raila passed on, Sakaja had actually become so close to him. Maybe he's now inheriting the orphans, accommodating them. Gaucho will get quality time at Capitol Hill with the late Raila Odinga. And so maybe to also do the same, Sakaja is coming in. We understand the politics of Nairobi. Gaucho vied for Korogocho, if I'm not wrong, where Matach is now the MCA. Do you know Matach? Matach is more vicious than Gaucho. Matach is called Matach Mobimba. He's the MC for Korogocho. He's accommodating all of them. But do you think he should have maybe placed him in a less sensitive docket?
I've actually just told you that Mama Lucy could be the best place for Gaucho because this is the place that receives about 1,000 outpatients every day. And these are from those slums and so on. So it's a very busy place. So you need a person who can get the feel of what's happening and who can actually make sure that those people who would otherwise not have access to services get the services. So if Gaucho plays his role well, this could also propel his political interests, if you ask me. So it's a win-win for both Gaucho and Governor Sakaja here. But the point really that I want to say is that we sometimes behave as if we don't live in this country. In this country, people are not appointed for professional competence. No, we are appointed because of interest. We are appointed because of patronage and because of clientelism. That when I give you a job, I'm expecting, you are either expecting a reward, which is where Daktari started from, or I'm expecting an input from you. So we don't give you to go and serve. We give you because we are seeing an extension of our interests. So whether you're looking at the cabinet of Kenya today, whether you're looking at boards and parastatal boards in this country today, whether you're looking at the composition in terms of ethnic composition and others, we are putting people because we believe, A, it's our turn to eat, B, we have a constituency to sort out, and C, we have a political game to play.
And while that is the case, I think then as we open and zoom out of this, what bothers me then is that these boards, which have vital, critical work to do, whether it is Mama Lucy, whether it is another board, whether it is directorship of another department, they have critical, important roles that they are meant to fulfill. how can you ensure that these roles are fulfilled if the positions are being used as political ammunition? And I think that could be the bigger question here. That there's work to be done in the development of the country. That there are things and processes that need to happen on a daily basis. Now, if I'm appointing somebody politically for the loyalty that they've shown to me or shown to my political positioning, how can I ensure that the greater responsibility that has been placed on some of these directorships and these boards is actually being fulfilled, whereas my intention was not that. My intention was to award loyalty. How can we then ensure that the work is going to be done?
Thank you. You know, I started from that perspective where I'm looking at the big picture. Let's look at the Constitution. Within the preamble, talks about us exercising our alienable right that we can actually determine the leadership that we need to have as a people. Now, I'll take you back to history. During the transition, when we are actually glamoring for 2010 Constitution, we were looking for meritocracy, corrupt-free leaders that can actually transform this country, and we haven't gotten there. Why? Because what we envisaged in the Constitution has not been fully, the spirit and the letter of the Constitution is not being adhered to. And that's where we lose it. If you remember, around 2022 campaigns, people are saying, we want that thief. He is ours. So why will you complain when the thief gets inside and makes those decisions? Same concerns. We had even concerns around papers of some of these leaders. But we did not solve that problem. So Kenyans should actually stop complaining because they easily forget and they're very gullible. That's why they find it very easy to complain, but they should have made the right decision earlier by ensuring that they get the right leaders. Kenya actually suffers from a leadership deficit. The hope that we had in 2002, which we lost in 2007, we have never regained up to today. That transition has never come. We tried to get there. Gen Z were trying in 2024 to bring that change. Again, you know how their vehicle was deflated. So that's why we should not be talking about these matters of where are we drawing the line if we really don't get the common mwananchi to understand the civic duty that you need to elect the right leaders and then hold those leaders accountable. That's where we draw the line. Because even today, look at the qualification of members of parliament. We even have very good professors there. Do they behave like professors in the house? Have they changed anything in this country? That's where the concern comes from. Look at the number of MCS, their qualification. Are they able to hold the governors accountable? Why are we having a problem between the Senate and the governors? These are issues that goes back to the common mwananchi, that you have to take a role in terms of holding leaders accountable. If the mwananchi was doing that, they'll not have a problem with that kind of appointment. But then, of course, there's this crop of Kenyans that believe if you have seen the four walls of a classroom, then you deserve to get such kind of appointment. Or maybe you are not so much educated, you should not have a position in terms of leadership. But those are the very people protected by the Constitution, which brings in everybody and trying to bring in a balance. Our concern should be, how do we enhance accountability for our leaders? If we do that, then today we can even still hold accountable that board to see what changes are they going to make. By the way, you may be surprised that during his tenure, Mama Lucy may actually even perform better. But then you look at other different sectors, just the same concern. Look at medical negligence. How many cases do we have across of medical negligence? What went wrong? Look at academia. What challenges do we face within that? So there's something that we need to address in terms of our leadership and governance and accountability for the services so that we deliver as opposed to rewarding loyalty.
Daktari.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Only way to start your day.
The National Park, it actually made her lose that position. A simple post, your view. These are view. She's learned, she's exposed, she's polished. But because of her view...
I think she's campaigning to be women rep in Nairobi.
Yes. Comparatively, comparatively, yeah, Pauline is ahead, but she lost that position. Again, Mama Lucy is too sensitive. Should we leave them unchecked just because we are the ones who elected these these leaders?
You know, Alan, let's be realistic. There's nothing too sensitive about Mama Lucy. It's just a hospital like any other hospital in this country. What you have is a board that has been put in place. And now we should be looking at the total composition of that board rather than Gaucho alone. Gaucho is going to be one person, but the board is going to make decisions as a corporate body. For the first time, Mama Lucy has a medical doctor as a chair of that board. You don't know the last chair of that board. She was called Sakaja. She was a lady called Susan Sakaja. She was dramatic and fairly not competent, if you asked me. Mm-hmm. Yes, and at least for Mama Lucy, this change might just be good for Mama Lucy, because at least there is a composition of a board that could appear like it could work together. So when we focus on Gaucho as if he's the chairman, he's not the chairman. As if he's going to be the most crucial member, no, it's just going to be any other member. Now that's the first thing. The second thing is, remember the preamble of the Constitution says, we the people of Kenya. Now, it does not categorize what kind of, people we are. It does not even say that we, the educated people of Kenya, we, the elite of Kenya. It doesn't say that. It says we, the people. So when I look at that preamble, even Gaucho is there, and so are others. And if any of these Kenyans, and remember they are saying that we the people are the ones who are giving power to these other people. Forget about that other power that people are looking for. It's the Kenyans that are giving this. If one of those Kenyans is Gaucho, then you can't isolate him and look at him as if he is the problem when you go to Mama Lucy. So I want to tell Kenyans that on this one, we're missing it. This guy is actually a Kenyan, perhaps a fairly interesting Kenyan, because he chairs, or he's the president of Bunge la Wananchi. He seems to have a voice. And if you look at this guy's history, from his childhood and how he got into this Nairobi and how he's made it where he is, my friend, there's something entrepreneurial about this guy. So let us actually hope that in his tenure in Mama Lucy, perhaps we might see something different. Remember, he's been very vocal. He is vocal. He speaks out. He calls out. He actually calls out leaders to be accountable and so on. He might just do the same in Mama Lucy, and Mama Lucy might be better. So let's not focus on his past, focus on his education. There are so many people in this country that do not have an education to talk about, who are serving the country fairly well. So let's not be worried about education.
Again, if we can come from an umbrella point of this conversation, that how Kenyans or how anybody makes decisions about their leaders perhaps ought to be the direction in which we are focusing on. Because a year from now, critical decisions, again, will be made at the ballot in terms of who comes in for positions of leadership. We can't run away from optics of things. It's so important about how things look, that when you talk about a selection that has been made from where you sit, and it can be philosophical, it can be academic, but did the governor actually make this appointment because he feels what you feel, Prof? That he actually feels that there can be some contribution of this gentleman to the board? Or was it a political appointment because he knows the constituency and the power of the constituency that this man carries? We can't run away from that. Yeah. And that he knows that rewarding somebody at some level will be of a greater reward unto himself in the very near future politically. Can we run away from those realities?
We can't.
And how we look at it coming into the next few months, Kenyans will be at the ballots again. Now, if you make a decision to bring somebody in who could make a further decision for purely selfish and political expedientiary decisions, are we safe? Are Kenyans safe?
Kenyans, even the person who asked that question has since stopped asking the question. When Francis Atwoli asked, in whose hands are we safe? I think he stopped asking that question. I think the first thing is that the safety of Kenyans is really beyond us. It's more of the God and his rulership. In other words, it is a combination of things that we can't sit here and say this appointment is very dangerous or this appointment is going to take us down a slippery slope. What I think we can say safely, and I think I want to get this right, because when I look at those appointments that Governor Sakaja has done, they are a political master scheme that he has sat there, he has looked at it. Of course, when you look at it from other angles, he might have missed a few things, and I've seen those noises in the social media. But on Gaucho, I think he's okay. I would do the same if I had a political position and I needed mobilization. I would get a mobilizer of that and then bring him in instead of giving him handouts. I tell him, now when you sit here, you know, there will be some allowance for you here, and from there you can walk around saying, you know, you are a director.
But isn't that the issue? That this has nothing to do with how a hospital will be run better, which should be the focus. And this is the thing that we're running away from, that we need to have better run institutions, that there needs to be a development agenda that's actually fulfilled. So when we look at this appointment to a hospital board, it is almost ludicrous that we are not focusing on how this medical institution will actually be run better. We are talking about the politics, and we are saying that, well, it's okay for him to have made a political appointment, but we're not looking at the bigger picture here, where, like you said, thousands of people, Kenyans, the same Kenyans that we're talking about, I don't even care about the social class. Thousands of people are going for a medical reason. They are going to seek medical attention. A political appointment is not going to ensure that this institution is run better. Dr. Likaka, should that not be the focus?
And help me, Dr. Likaka, because this guy is not going to treat people.
He's making the decisions.
Actually,
he makes decisions about how the thing is going to be run.
I can buttress her point. He comes from Bunge la Mwananchi.
Yes.
You've never attended Bunge la Mwananchi. I've attended several meetings.
I attend a few. In my
at Jacaranda.
When I'm in my, not at Jacaranda, but in my streets, I do attend a few.
Yeah, I've gone to Jacaranda.
Yes.
There, it's actually the law of the jungle.
Yes.
There's a speaker, but there's no order. Your microphone will be snatched. Anytime you go against the motion, motion is just you come from you're actually an advocate of the High Court.
Yes.
There's a meme here. New data from KNBS indicates that the phrase "pia wewe usinilete" has a 66.5% success rate of escalating an argument to a fist fight. Those are some of the phrases that fly at Jacaranda. Okay. Don't you think Gaucho will bring harmony to the boardroom? Because, of course, if there is harmony in the boardroom, it will trickle down to the doctors. I feel like there will be intimidations. The Kenyans feel that there will be intimidations in the boardrooms that will be escalating down. And you see, when it does so, there will be a ripple effect. Daktari.
I think we are reading too much into this appointment on the basis of the fact that this guy is not a medic. He's not going to deal with patients. He's not a specialist. We just want governance, discussions. What are the issues on the table? What is the budget? How do we go about this? Who is delivering what? Policy level. That is what the board is doing. But I want to agree with Kenyans who are concerned on the basis of balancing loyalty and academic qualification or competence. But look at this competence. I want to take you back to history. How Kibaki aligned appointment of cabinet secretaries with academic qualification or expertise in that area and delivery of services. And you all know the truth on how the country changed. If the highest office in the land is not doing the same, what do you expect Governor Sakaja to do? He will basically do the same nonsense. Because the reality of the matter here is, if we want quality delivery of services, we appoint people with the right competence, we can question them. But then we have already mentioned the rider in the Constitution that protects Gaucho's appointment. Let me focus much more on accountability and that which is required of leaders. Because once you appoint someone and they have the leverage to make decisions, then we are able to hold them accountable based on the structures that we have. Here, we have a scenario where people appointed do not align. And I want to give you a good example. We have a problem today with fuel. And look at how the CS is so clueless of anything within that sector. And here you're comfortable, Kenyans complaining about Gaucho. You'll want to look at education. Look at the quagmire we have in education. See how they're struggling with it. So these are simple examples to show probably that even as we struggle with this problem at the level that Sakaja has opened this Pandora's box, we should be thinking the big picture. And for me, I fold the so-called Kenyan middle class. They are very good keyboard warriors to actually raise these concerns left, right, and center. But as we speak even today, they have not collected that voters card. These are the very people who easily critique every other thing. But are they playing their role? If we have a problem, for example, with roads, I don't know who is the CS for roads today. The other day, we had a very good decision that we need to put CCTV on Southern Bypass and Northern Bypass because of accidents. How many accidents take place in those roads compared to the Nairobi, Nakuru, or Nairobi, Mombasa Road? Where is the competence? So these are the questions we should be asking ourselves. When we align competence and skills with specific service delivery, we'll feel it. The CEO of that hospital, those are medics. The chair is actually a medic. When they sit together, they make collective decisions. Everybody has got his own input. And I don't think Gaucho will bring his kind of comparative approach in terms of, I think even he's getting to a space where he'll actually be muscled. Now he has to sit in a forum where there's order, where there's you speak at one time, and then you're able to vote or make decision in the right way. What should be our concern today should be that as leaders, even as a country, we are facing that deficit of leadership. Because left, right, and center, you see, our leaders are actually our mirror. Why are we complaining? Because the way our leaders behave, it is the way we Kenyans behave. These days, we need sitting allowance for us to sit in a political meeting. Why will you campaign with 20 million to go for a job that will pay you 6 million? Where are you going to get the rest? They'll get the rest. It's because there's something totally wrong with our values. And if we don't address our values as a people, we will actually continue having this problem. Because even as we prepare, you can see they have already aligned themselves. If he's going to play the political role, next time he's going to contest and maybe support Governor Sakaja. So you actually expect that after 2027, they'll be more entrenched with more problems.
This is what I'm
and that's why we need to be careful about.
Okay, so Doctor, this is what I'm saying, that everything seems as though it serves as a means to an end. That if for some reason this gentleman was seen to be somebody who could actually profit the board over time in terms of the running of this institution, that perhaps it would have been done earlier. But the devil usually is in the detail. That it is pointing to how this gentleman and his constituency will aid in a possible re-election, will aid in the coalescing of numbers around an idea, and has actually nothing to do with the constitution of the board. And we see it as, a board, we see it as a board, appointment, but it actually is not that. It is the rewarding or direct placing of an individual somewhere for you to see that I am rewarding a possible coalescing of your constitution around the idea of me. Now, when we see it that way, perhaps we can understand then what Dr. Likaka is saying about how you make decisions going into the future. Because if you make a decision for somebody who is actually hell-bent on ensuring that the constitutionally mandated point of government securing the livelihoods of Kenyans is what is followed, then you will know I'm not going to have a problem with what this individual is going to do in the future.
You see, and this is sometimes why we must always be alive to what happens in this country. At a national level, when the cabinet secretaries are appointing boards, people on boards, it's interests, not competence, that is allowing the kind of people that are going in there. Similarly, when governors at their level are making appointments, it's about interest.
It's very possible that Governor Sakaja doesn't believe for an iota of his his mind that Gaucho can actually do a proper job on that board. Probably it doesn't even come to his mind at all.
His interest is not about what Gaucho can do on the
Exactly.
board, but what that appointment will do for his politics. And that is true of the president and his cabinet. It's true of governors and their appointments, and it's true of us in this country. There are many problems that we should be discussing, such as misalignment in the Ministry of Education, for example. Nothing there is happening. But we see we are looking at Gaucho. There are so many illiterate people who have gone to school. Forget about this person who we think is illiterate, but he could be better schooled in terms of just street smartness. So where Gaucho has reached, I would actually want to understand him more. I would want to make him a subject of study. In fact, from an academic perspective, I would like to see how his role and effectiveness will be 3 years down the line as a board member. Just so we know that it's not always about papers and so on. So there's something here that we should learn from. And it is a national problem. When we are dealing with this country, let's understand that a lot of our appointments are about interests, not about competence. Whether you are talking about even promotions in public service and so on, though we know the Constitution demands that we do things according to competence, merit, and so on, we know for a fact their cabinet was supposed to be a technical cabinet. They were supposed to be competent people. The last attempt was the first appointment that Uhuru Kenyatta did. After that, it's just been anything goes. So because of that, let's not beat this Gaucho's appointment so hard. In fact, let's now make it a subject of study.
Just an interjection here.
Yeah.
You know, you are an advocate with the High Court.
Yes.
You litigate, you debate.
Yes.
These are two, you may get an advocate who is good at litigating, he cannot debate.
Yes.
Or is majored in debating, but litigating is falling below the bar. You're talking about Gaucho's appointment. If I'm getting you right, you're saying that Sakaja is not looking at his merit in terms of boardroom harmony, but looking at balancing the delicate political card. But on the flip side, I remember there's a time Gaucho was given money, I don't know, during the Azimio days, formative days of the Azimio, he was accused of misappropriating by his fellow Bunge la Mwananchi members. He was declared persona non grata, those grounds. He had to come back with some emissaries, come back and explain. He bought off some people, of course, his members. I know them by name. Akina Moshi 1 hour, Songa, Usiku wa Manane. They're funny monikers. No, we live in this society. We live in this society.
Yeah.
We have to go there.
Yeah.
You know, for you, Doctor, when you go there, first, they know that bus, mdosi amefika. For me, if I just put on my Manchester United t-shirt and a funny cap, I'll be part of them. They told me one. Don't you think that how many of Bunge la Mwananchi can Gaucho accommodate? Because you see, he's representing some political interest. So technically, he should accommodate some of them, if not all of them. And that's why I go back to my first question. He's not useless. Why can't he be put in a department? We have 17 constituencies in Nairobi. Firefighting, garbage collection is actually happening in all the constituencies. If Gaucho is actually in one of those departments, they represent the whole of Nairobi. All the interest. Those are more than the 1,000 patients you're talking about in Mama Lucy. Millions of the residents of Nairobi. He'll reach them out to all of them. He will have members of the Bunge la Mwananchi in all those constituencies. They will be representing the interest of the appointing authority. Don't you think? He's not useless, but not Mama Lucy.
No, and I want to make it clear for you that actually he's in the right place, because there is something called the Facility Management Fund. That the monies that the hospitals make, some of it is retained in the hospital, so that it's not all taken to the county treasury. Now that is in Mama Lucy, that even if, I've told you there's 1,000 people who go there, even if they were paying 50 bob, there's a lot of money that's going to be generated there. And so you need a Gaucho there to help you to meet out some of the community needs around that hospital, just on some of those local resources. I want to submit to us that some of the things we are talking about are not practical in this country. For example, Gaucho is not there for good governance. Please, let's not cheat ourselves.
No.
He is there to manage and to help a process. Now, if those members of Bunge will now see themselves as part of Mama Lucy, that is a win for Sakaja and a win for Gaucho. And if they are there, then they also want to supply, they want to be part of, the businesses that the hospital will bring or will do. That is why Gaucho is there. So it's not
I think
there
it's great, Dr. Olo, that you would imagine that this is about the hospital. I think it's fantastic that you would think that this is about hospital. But if we look at it and say that it could be that, or it could be that this man has been rewarded for whatever that he did previously, and that he will remember a good thing done unto him. So when it comes time for the mobilizing of people to possibly coalesce around the idea of a second term of the governorship for one Arthur Johnson Sakaja, that he will not think twice.
Absolutely.
So are we disillusioned to imagine that Mama Lucy Hospital will be a better place for the residents of this area, or from people who come from across the city, to seek medical attention because this man has been appointed to the board? I think it's almost a fallacy.
That's an illusion.
It's an illusion to even imagine that it's going to be better because
even,
of his appointment.
Even to think that Sakaja really wants that hospital to succeed in the way you and I think.
For goodness sake.
It's business, it's politics.
Yeah.
And on a lighter note,
Yes.
I remember when Rashid Echesa was CS Sports.
Yes.
I will meet my kinsman at Kencom bus stage. They're actually sitting on those rails.
Yes.
As early as 7:30 in the morning. You meet them, mnauliza mnangoja nini?
Kunya bwana mheshimiwa.
Ministry ni yetu. The same thing will be replicated at Mama Lucy.
Exactly.
Yes. Early morning, those are mamas from Roraka, Madare, will be there in their hundreds. They don't have the money. Wanasema tunasumbukana na Gaucho wako hapa ndani.
Yes.
And you see Gaucho is in the board. How many times do they sit?
You know, there's
Mmeletea Gaucho shida.
Yabana, Gaucho wako sawa.
you know, there's something we need to look at, the background and the past of Gaucho, and especially in the last 2 years, and the role he even played in organizing for goons who came to protest, to attack the ones who were actually protesting against the governor.
Yes.
He actually played that role. Maybe now there's a chance that Sakaja can actually sanitize him in preparation for the MCA or Member of Parliament position. That's where I have a problem with Kenyans.
So they're propelling him.
Because they basically, he's actually being propelled. Tomorrow you wouldn't be surprised if he becomes your Member of Parliament and is going to make the laws for you. Or he becomes an MCA tomorrow. Because he's actually being prepared for that. Now he's being sanitized through the board so that he can now be streamlined to actually play that
Assembling
role.
some credentials.
Yes. So we need to appreciate the fact that, these appointments lean so much in terms of political strategy for the leaders. And that's why Kenyans should actually be concerned and appoint or elect the right leaders. And I'm still concerned this because so long as we are not able to merge skills and competence, we'll see the problem we are facing in the country today. A good example today, Dr.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Say yes to a box full of what you love only on your StarTimes decoder. This February, Kenya's favorite dating show, Hello Mr. Right, is serving romance like never before. Make a date with Dr. Ofweneke, Rispa Faith, and Gertrude Mungai every Saturday at 8 p.m. on Rainbow TV. Renew your subscription at 329 shillings for the Nyota bouquet on your aerial decoder or 549 shillings for the Nova bouquet on your dish decoder and unwrap endless entertainment. Don't miss a moment of Hello Mr. Right Kenya, where hearts open, choices are made, and real connections begin.
I felt the energy. The sparks really sparked.
Download the Star Times On app to stream Hello Mr. Right. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
No less than this is so-called literates so we need to check that out. Having said that, I think what is important for us to all accept is that we have a country of contrast. We are in the media, and we should know that you remember an incident where gunmen went to Mama Lucy with a person who was wounded and wanted the person treated under gunpoint, and also wanted an ambulance to take them, I don't know where. So we are in good times. We are in good times with Gaucho there.
Maybe looking at something in terms of, and I think I tried to go to this a couple of times this morning, but the decisions we make, threaded through this conversation has been that, leaders are a reflection of the society of people, a middle class who is struggling with the decision making, how you make decisions about the leaders that you will bring in. This conversation points to those things, and that there is coming a time in the very near future where Kenyans will have to make a decision again about the people that they put in leadership, because these appointments will come as political favors. They come all the time, like we said. They happen every day. Yesterday, the governor of Makueni was appointed to yet another. I mean, it happens all the time. But we didn't complain about that one because it kind of looked like, okay, this makes sense. Law Reform Commission, a lawyer, governor, whose sound doesn't have a problem. Was it political? 100%. But did you complain about it much? No, because you kind of have a feeling that, okay, it makes some sense. But how do you steer people in the direction whereby they will be making a decision that would positively benefit their future? How do you steer people in that direction?
By telling them to be real and realistic. There are so many educated persons that have failed this country, and we have not worried about them. We are worried about a person we think is not educated. And I'm saying, for me, this is the time for us to do a comparison and contrasting. Maybe this person who we know and think will fail is likely to give us some result, as opposed to Dr. Lukaka here. If we say this man is learned, we give him governance, and then he starts doing the opposite of what governance is. And I'm just using an example. I'm not saying that he has been there. Because I have seen many educated people fail. That I'll be least worried whether Gaucho fails. Because I'm like, everybody's not giving him a chance. I want to give him a chance.
Okay.
Actually, the main concern for Kenyans today should be the kind of leaders they are going to elect. If we don't, we are just keen about that. And a good example, look at the governors. There's a account here, Muranga. They are very silent and they're working every other day. Did you see the boards or how he constituted some of those committees that are supposed to support the county? People who have actually excelled in their areas. So this is a concern and maybe a learning point across all other sectors. When you bring people with the right competence and align them, you basically see improvement in terms of service delivery. And it should be a wake-up call for every Kenyan today to take the civic duty of ensuring that the social contract we are going to sign in 2027 is actually going to be adhered to, and then we hold our leaders accountable. Because when we start complaining, yet we are not holding them accountable, we can't achieve much. Kenyans should actually wake up and stop being gullible and stop being forgetful. They forget too fast. That's why we are in this mess. Should actually look ourselves in the mirror. We are our own problem.
All right, so coming up to 2027, and this is the bigger picture that we are talking about here. Coming up to 2027, where perhaps you'll bring in leaders who will actually make a change on some of the things that you cry about today. I mean, we don't even want to start talking about the things that the med soup at Mama Lucy Hospital has to deal with on a daily basis in terms of making things work. But then, again, zooming out and looking into the country in the future, the decisions you make about who you bring in to be your leaders from the ward level up until the presidency has a lasting effect on how constitutionalism, for example, will be lived out. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Professor Martin Olo, we keep reminded that you've risen up in the ranks.
No, I am not yet there, but you keep saying it, so I'll go there. I'll get there. I'll get there.
Dr. Martin Olo, advocate and political analyst, and Dr. Luchetu Likaka, governance and security consultant. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Asante.
Thank
Good
you so
morning.
much for having us.
8 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.